because it's for you. Your name is on it. But you got to possess it. God told Israel that Canaan was theirs, but they had to go in and possess it. And when you go in and possess it, then you can say that I have everything that the Lord has promised me. Hallelujah. Come on, put your hands together. Give God praise. Come on, that's all right for me, but they're going to give you the act. Open up your mouth and say something good. I love you, Lord. When you heard my cry, you pitied my every groan. And when trouble arises, I hasten to your throne. You've been there through the thick and through the thin. You've been there through my heartaches and my pain. You've been there through my storm and my rain. I just want to say thank you, Lord. Jesus, give it up for Jesus. We give you all the glory. It all belongs to Him. It all belongs to Him. Nobody steal any glory. Give it up. Give it up. That wonderful name of Jesus, because He's worthy to be praised. And we thank God for each of you who have come today to be a part of our worship experience. We thank you for the birthday acknowledgments, and all those who are born in the marvelous month of October. And say happy birthday again. To you. That's a great month. Amen. Especially those of you who are under the Libra sign. You know, we are balanced. We are well balanced. Amen. Amen, somebody. If you don't praise your own poem, it's a poor person. Amen. And to my birthday mate, Deacon Hooker, we born the same date. Amen. And he has been a servant to this church for many years since I've been here. Thank God for His leadership and His servanthood. Amen. And to each of you, amen, Sister Phyllis, Sister Jones, I gotta stop calling names because I'm going to forget somebody. Sister Brianna, amen, happy birthday to you. Amen, amen. And some who are not here, Sister Lewis, Deacon Lewis, amen, has been with us for years and years. We thank God for. I called Sister Jones. Yeah, I did. Amen. Somebody pointing behind you, pointing at you, Sister Jones. That's what I said. Yeah. Amen. Amen. Well, there's a word for us today. This word is going to be a very challenging. It's taken from the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 6. And then turn over to chapter 25, verse 19. Proverbs 20 and 6, Proverbs 25 and 19. We honor God who is sovereign and supreme, His Son Jesus Christ, who is our Savior, and the Holy Ghost, who is our Comforter. And to each of you in your respective places, we thank God for you on today. If you're there, say I'm there. Proverbs 20 and 6, you'll find these words. Most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find a faithful man. Proverbs 25 and 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. Let us pray. Father, we thank you now for this preaching and teaching opportunity. We thank you for allowing us to come together. And as we stand in the midst of your children, we ask now, God, that you empower me the more, that I may preach and teach with power and with clarity. Anoint us, O God, that we might hear what the Spirit is saying unto us. Not only should we might hear, but we might believe, receive, explore, apply, and share this word. In advance, we'll give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. For it's in Jesus' name that we pray. And our said, amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Remember the announcements that were given earlier. Let us go and I said it was according, especially for our stewardship event on the 24th. Make sure that we are ready for that. Today, we want to ask a question to each of us as our subject. Can God count on you? Can God count on you? So often and many times we decree and declare with boldness that we can count on God. And that is true, that we can count on God because the Bible teaches us that God is faithful and He will do what He said that He would do. Oftentimes, as we experience our lives with God, we find out that we can ultimately count on Him to do anything but lie and fail. We can count on God because God is faithful. My question to us today, can God count on you? Are you faithful unto Him? Are you doing the things that He has required and even requested of you to do? Are you interested in doing the things that God has asked you to do? Or are you just doing what you want to do? It's so important, saints, because sooner or later that it will find you. It will catch up. Whether or not you are faithful to God, it will sooner or later slow walk you down. Especially if you are of the household of faith. See, the Bible teaches us who much is given, much is required. God has given us so much because we have become believers in Him, and He has given us so much. He has blessed us so much. But even within that, much is required of us. God has been faithful to us. He saved us and sanctified us and filled us with His precious Holy Ghost. He has given us so much. He has given us houses that we did not build, land that we did not purchase. He has given us so much. But in that, He requires us to do something, and that is to be faithful. God wants us to be in position as his children, as someone that he can count on. Count on to do what? Count on to be that light in a world that is filled with darkness and selfishness. Count on us to be that salt of the earth that will stop men and women from decaying and dying. Count on us to be a mouthpiece that will share the good news of Jesus Christ. Count on us to be a friend for the friendless. Count on us to be Christ-like in our walk of life. Today, we are going to talk about the quality or the characteristic of faithfulness. You see, my brothers and sisters, faithfulness is a word that we do not hear very often these days. In church now, we talk about praise, we talk about prophecy, we talk about singing, we talk about spiritual dancing, we talk about all kinds of things which are okay. But in order to exceed and excel in all of those things, there must be some faithfulness. Amen. It is, when we think about faithfulness now, it is mostly used at retirement parties. After 30 years of service, an employee gets a gold watch and someone said they have been faithful to the job for 30 years. Sometimes we talk about faithfulness in the tone of, my car may be old and beat up, but it's faithful. Sometimes we even talk about our shoes. Yeah, my shoes began to hurt my feet, so I go back and get my old, come on, y'all know what I'm talking about, old faithful shoes. However, my brothers and sisters, to be faithful does mean to be reliable, to be dependable, to be consistent, and to be trustworthy. So my question remains, can God rely on you? Can God depend on you? Can God call you trustworthy or consistent? It's amazing to me that in these perilous times where folk are killing folk just because they are folk, and we have the tendency and the audacity to leave God out of our lives. Can God, you know, we could be in Charleston today. Well, the streets are flooded. We could have been in Oregon last week in the midst of that cameras where someone just decided to shoot up a bunch of folk. So can God count on us to be who he has called us to be? Can he count on us to be dependable and reliable and trustworthy? Well, Proverbs 20:6 says, which is our text, and I'm going to read it clearly. Most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness. Most men will tell you how good they are. Most men will boast about how good they are, how well they can do this or do that. Most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man, can you find one? A faithful man, who can find a faithful man, and we're talking about man in the text, we're not talking about gender, we're talking about humankind or mankind. Who can find a faithful human being in this day and time when all hell is breaking loose and nobody wants to be faithful anymore? Nobody wants to trust God and be trusted of God. Y'all quiet. Good. It is not easy in the 21st century, in 2015, to find someone you can count on. I don't care, you could be in a mega church, it's still hard to find someone that you can count on. You could be in a church where there's 2 or 3. It's still hard to find someone that's reliable and dependable, consistent and trustworthy. Even in the church. You see, not everyone who says they're going to do something actually does it. People will lie, won't they? Now, the reason why we should be faithful is because God is faithful. And God is supposed to be living within us. So the reason why we should be faithful, the reason why we should be loving, because God is faithful and God is love. Amen. He desires for us to be like him. That is what God desires, for us to be like him. To be dependable, to be faithful. My brothers and sisters, faithfulness makes life much easier. I found out when we say what we mean and mean what we say, it makes life much easier. I found out when we are dependable, we are reliable, it makes life much easier. However, unfaithfulness is the cause of many problems in our world today. Unfaithfulness causes problems in our marriages, problems in our homes, problems on our job, problems in the church, problems in the community, problems in our government, problems from here to yonder. Unfaithfulness is the cause. So if Proverbs 25:19 says this, I read it in the text, confidence in an unfaithful man in times of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. Wow. Do you know what it's like to have on shoes too tight? It's uncomfortable. It hurts, right? Do you? They said that if you want a criminal to tell the truth, just put him on some shoes too tight. So Proverbs 25:19 says that unfaithfulness is like your foot out of joint or a broken tooth. A broken tooth going to either hurt or it's going to cut your toe. It's going to be uncomfortable. So, when you are depending on an unfaithful person, you can never, ever, never, ever, never quite relax. When you got an unfaithful spouse, you can't relax. When you got an unfaithful friend, you can't relax. There's always going to be something that's going to irritate you when you're dealing with unfaithful people. Dealing with people that'll tell you one thing and do another. I won't tell you what they're going to do. You see, working with unreliable people can be frustrating. It can be even devastating. But we all look for faithfulness in others. We may not be faithful, but we all look for faithfulness in other people. We're not reliable, but we want others to be reliable. We're not dependable, we're not consistent, we're not trustworthy, but we want others to be all of that. I won't be above. For instance, we want the mailman to be faithful when it's time for our check to come. We depend on the postal service to deliver it. We want the waiter to be faithful and keeping our coffee hot and our iced tea cold. We want them to be faithful on their job. They need to come to see what I need when I need it right then. But the question is, do you have a reputation of being reliable? Do you have a reputation of being dependable? The question is, will those who know you well bet their lives on your faithfulness? Will anybody call you faithful? You see, you may be talented, you may be gifted, you may be fine, you may be good looking, you may be educated, but if you're not dependable, your talents and gifts are not worth much. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but I call my wife beautiful. But if she ain't faithful, that beauty is not much to me. Amen, somebody. Amen. You can be all of that and 2 Snicker bars, but if you're not faithful, then you're not much. The greatest, hear this now, the greatest ability is dependability. Jesus says God is going to judge us not because of our ability or our intentions, but according to our faithfulness. You see, a faithful person will be richly blessed. So now the question remains, can God count on you? Can God depend on you to do what he asked you to do? Can God, as the old preacher would say, stand up in heaven and look down on earth and say to you, or say about you what he said about Job? Can God depend on you to just have a relationship with him? Can God depend on you to talk to him every day? Can God depend on you to pray? Can God depend on you to give? Can God depend on you to serve? Faithfulness. A faithful person will be richly blessed. And sometimes you got to be careful with your blessing, because God give you a blessing and you're not faithful, then sooner or later he'll snatch it back. And then you're wondering, what's wrong? Now, the question may be asked, how do I develop faithfulness into my life? Good question. Glad you asked. To develop faithfulness into your life, the first thing I think you need to know to do is to keep your promises. Now, many of us, when we were struggling in life, when we didn't have no God on our side, when we were sinking in sin and we were on our way to hell, we promised God some stuff. Lord, if you save me. Come on, somebody will be with this. Lord, if you just save me, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll praise your name. I'll serve you till I die. You better keep that promise. Keep your promises. Keep your promises not only with God, but keep your promises with your fellow man. Proverbs 25, verse 14. Listen what it says. Whosoever boasteth himself of a false gift is like clouds and wind without rain. Promising something and not producing. My slogan behind that is, if you're out of business, take your sign down. If you can't produce, don't advertise. If you're not a Christian and you're not living like a Christian, stop calling yourself one. Because you're just like clouds and wind and no rain. You know people like that, don't you? Yeah. They make promises but never keep them. Saints, be careful about the promises you make. If you make a promise, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Have you ever told someone you were calling them back later and didn't do it? Amen. Come on, Rick. Everybody should have their hand up. You ever told somebody you were going to call them back and didn't do it? All right, this is participation. Okay? Well, if I didn't get you then, I'll get you now. Have you ever promised to pay someone and you forgot to do it? Someone, some company, somebody, some deal. You forgot to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Listen, all of us, we need to be dependable. We need to be reliable and keep our word. If we say we're going to do something, we should try our best to do it. Proverbs 20 and 25, we go back just for a moment. 20 and 25 says, it is a snare to the man who devours that which is holy and after vows to make inquiry. What that means is that it's a trap for a man to make a vow and ask how he may evade the vow. That's a trap. So when we make a vow, we make a promise, we need to do what? We need to keep it. You see, it is always easier to get in than it is to get out. It has been said that the number one problem in parent-child relationship is resentment. And it said that resentment is caused by broken promises. We promise our children that if they make A's and B's, that we're going to do something for them. They make A's and B's and we forget about what we promised that we were going to do. That's a problem in today's world. We make promises, but we do not keep them. Ecclesiastes 5 and 5 says it is better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it. Amen. In other words, if you can't fulfill the promise, don't make it. So husbands, what promise do you need to keep? And forget about your wives. What promises do you need to keep? I'm not forgetting about your parents. What promises you need to keep? Children, what promises do you need to keep? Listen, when you and I are dependable, we don't have to convince people that we are. Somebody know whether or not you're dependable. Can they say something like, or will they say something like this? Well, I know Sister So-and-so, they ain't going to be on will they say something like this? I don't care what happened, brother so-and-so is going to be on that. Right. What are they saying about you? Some people just like to be late. Late is their middle name. No, maybe their first name. You see, you don't have to convince people that you are dependable. Just do it. You don't have to say, like we used to say when we were children, I'm going to tell you this, and I cross my heart and hope to die. Y'all remember that? Yeah. And some of the old wineries used to take it a little further and say, if I don't do it, I hope God will kill you. I said, well, you don't got to worry about God killing you. If you don't do it, I might kill you. Listen, just say you're going to do it and then do it. Because Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your nay be nay, or your no be no. Others will feel confident that they can count on you. And surely God will feel confident if he can count on you. My brothers and sisters, if God can't count on you, or if you're not reliable when it comes down to God, if you're not dependable when it comes down to God, you're not going to be reliable when it comes down to me. Because I didn't save you. I didn't create you. I didn't breathe breath into your life. That God did it. So if you're not dependable when it comes down to God, you're not going to be dependable when it comes down to me, church, family, anything. Amen. Listen. When others feel confident they can count on you, God will too. So, keep your promises. If you say you're going to do something, do it. That's being faithful. That's how you begin to develop faithfulness into your life. Keep your promises. Secondly, use your gifts and your abilities. The church is lacking in areas of ministry because people will not use their gifts and their abilities. Because what has happened in church, and we've got lazy about using our gifts and our ability within the body of Christ. When it comes down to our jobs, when it comes down to our careers, when it comes down to our families, when it comes down to other things, then we are at the top of the list. But when it comes down to God's business, then we are slack. But use your gifts and your abilities for God and for God's people. Why? Well, God has given us some spiritual gifts, and he has given us some abilities. He has invested in you and me, and he wants and expects a return on his investment. Some of us, he has taken you to higher heights in the area of academia. He has taken you to higher heights in some type of career, but you won't use that for the upbuilding of the kingdom. But he has invested you with abilities and gifts, and he is looking, or he expects a return on his investment. Turn to 1 Peter 4:10. The question still remains, can God count on you? Can your neighbor count on you? Can your spouse, can your children count on you as being a good parent? Are you reliable? Or you just, as James Brown would say, talk loud and say, come on, y'all forgot, huh? Saying nothing. What did I say? 1 Peter 4:10. All right. 1 Peter 4:10. Let's see what it says. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good what? Stewards of the manifold grace of God. Every man, every human being has at least one gift. And because you have received a gift, and many have more than one, even so you need to minister the same gift that you have, that God has given you, to who? To one another. If you have the gift of serving, you should minister that gift to one another, because somebody needs service. If you have the gift of faith, you need to minister that gift one to another, because someone needs faith. So remember now that God has given us at least one gift, and he has given us abilities, and he has vested in you and I, and he expects a return on his investment. He didn't just save you to take you to heaven. He saved you to work here on earth. He saved you so he can count on you. And if you do not use God's given abilities, other people will be cheated because you are not contributing what God has uniquely equipped you to provide. Other people are suffering because God gave a gift to you so you can minister it among others, and other people are suffering because you won't use your gift. I hear that. You won't use your gift because you make excuses. Watch this. If you want to be more faithful, meaning reliable, dependable, consistent, trustworthy, if you want to be more faithful, use your gifts and your abilities in the kingdom of God. You're smart. You use it on your job. You're smart. You use it in your sorority, in your fraternity. You're smart. You use it with the Masonics. You use it with the Eastern Star. You use it with all these other organizations. Why not use it in the church? God, you were quiet. Wow. I know what you're saying. I hear you speaking in that tone of voice. I hear what you're saying. I'm not gifted like brother so-and-so. I know what you're saying. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't sing well. I can't do this. I can't do that. Listen. Just because you can't do as well as someone else, you are not excused from doing what you can do. Well, I figured it was going to be a little tough today. I figured that. I must be stepping on feet. Not move past the toes. I'm on the feet. I'm all around the ankle. You see, saints, faithfulness, hear me well. Faithfulness does not depend on what I do not have or cannot do. Faithfulness depends on what I do with what I have. And many of us are sitting back doing nothing because we think that we can't be spectacular in what someone else, or we can't be like someone else. We can't do as well as someone else. Listen, I'm not responsible to play the piano for God if he hadn't called me to do that, or gifted me to do that. I'm not getting over that. Because that's not what he's given me the gifts or abilities to do. But I am responsible to use the gifts and abilities that God has given me. And you are too. You see, we can't all be spectacular. We can't all be the star of the show. You know what I mean? But we have a part in the show. We can't all be the lead role. But if you look at any movie, any picture, everybody's not the leading part to play in the show, in the movie, in the program. Everybody can be the star on the sports field. In football, you use the quarterback, wide receiver, running back, defensive back. But what about the linemen who keep the people off the quarterback? Many times they're not the star. We don't even know anything about them. They sometimes call them bad. They don't be no hogs. They're not the star, but they all make up the team, right? The team is not successful without them. Listen, we cannot all be spectacular, but we can all be faithful. What does that mean? Literally, dependable, reliable, consistent. That's a key to church folk. And trustworthy. Why is it that we can't be consistent about our giving? Why is it when summertime comes, we use our monies to go on vacation? Don't you think the lights still be on? Utilities even more during the summertime. But you know that things have to be done in the house of the Lord? And we take away for our own personal gain? Or why is it that we can't learn how to tithe and give an offering in the first place? It's in the Bible. And you can't say that you've been a part of innovation. You haven't heard me say it. Why we can't do that? Why does the church have to suffer because the Christians in the church just fail to do what God says? Not what Leland says, but what thus says the Lord. We got our own agenda. But I'm going to speak a prophetic word. Is that it's going to get tough enough for you either to turn back to God or you're going to destroy yourself. Now you can take that how you want to take it. You either turn back to God and do it. God, it's going to come. It's going to come. Because see, the Bible says that the world will get wickeder, right? Wickeder. More wicked. Right? Okay. You think that's going to change? It didn't say the world going to get weaker, and then it's going to stop getting weaker, then it's going to be all right. It says the word, man will be wiser and weaker. Weaker. You got it. So that means that the world is not going to get better. It's that we have to be better in the world. Listen, if you're 40, just go back to when you was 20. Don't you think that in the world, people has got more weaker or more wicked than they were when you were 20? Yeah. Think about some of the things that's happening in the world now. That when you were 20 years old, when I was 20 years old, we didn't even hear about these kind of things. So that let us know, come on now, look at history. History speaks for itself. It's not going to be better. Yeah. Certain folk didn't even try to come out of the closet when I was 20. Now they're breaking down the closet to get out. Yeah. Or they're already out. Just one example. So the things in the world is not going to get better. You got to get better in the world. It's just like when the 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into the fiery furnace. The fiery furnace was not cool. I know the old preachers say they put an air. No, they didn't. The Bible don't say that about no air conditioning. What happened was that God made them better and made them fireproof. The fire was hotter than it ever been heated before. And it killed the ones who stood on the outside and threw them in. But God made them what? Better, so they could stand the heat. So He's going to make us better if we do what He says so we can stand the heat. When all hell breaks loose, when those folk over in the Mideast get crazy and start coming over here, we'll maybe get some sense and start coming over here and taking us out. You know, we big bad bully on the block. You know, we think anybody ever do that. But Osama bin Laden had our president running for cover, didn't he? A little small country where he's from. So don't think that it can happen. It's in the Bible. It happened before. God used God allowed a small little country to beat Israel's behind. And Israel was his chosen people. So it's not going to get better. We got to get better so we can live in this world until Jesus comes. Yes. But can God count on you to prepare ourselves and others to be better? I'm almost finished. So then, don't worry about being spectacular. But we can all be faithful. And faithful is what counts with God. What did he say? He says, if you got faith, I will reward you. If you diligently seek me. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. What is faith? From that standpoint, from that context, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is believing what you can't see and acting upon. Okay, so faith is that, and God is faithful, full of faith, and he wants us to be faithful, full of faith. That we walk by faith. We don't walk by what we see. We walk by faith because we believe God is going to do it, right? So we believe God is going to do it. We become faithful, and because we become faithful, we are reliable, we are dependable, we are consistent, and we are trustworthy. God can count on us because we believe whatever God says, that settles it. Now, are we going to do everything right 100%? No. But if we could just get to about 60%, we'd be a whole lot further ahead. So now, how do I develop faithfulness into my life? First of all, I said keep your promises, right? Secondly, use your gifts and abilities. You see, God's hands are your hands. God's eyes is your eyes. God is not going to come down here and tell you to do nothing in the physical. He's going to use us to do it. Okay? So use your gifts and talents. Use your gifts and ability to help others. The last thing is make the best of your time. Wow. That's so important because we waste so much time. We waste so much time doing absolutely nothing constructive. Now, I'm not even saying that you should waste all your time, in the book or in church or all of that, but you need to spend time with God. You need to spend time doing things that God told you to do. Make the best of your time. Time is something we all have. And everybody has the same amount of time. There's 24 hours a day for me. There's 24 hours a day for you. You don't get any more. You don't get any less. But it's how you use your time. How you diversify your time is important. If you're just going to waste time just sitting in a room watching the walls, that's just a waste of time. Ephesians 5 and 15. Turn it with me. Are y'all getting anything out of this? Yes. Ephesians 5 and 15. Go back to 14. Give it a little clarity. Wherefore, he said, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk, or you live, circumspectly or carefully, not as fools, but as wise. Be careful how you live. Be careful how you use your time. Listen, you can do three things with your time. Number one, you can spend it. Number two, you can waste it. Number three, you can invest it. Time is part of what I call the 4 T's of our stewardship. And we should give God at least 10% of our time, 10% of our talent, 10% of our treasury, and 10% of our temple. Those are the 4 T's. Now the question is, if I can park here for a minute, how many of us are giving God 240 minutes, 2 hours and 40 minutes a day? That's 10% of your day. You have to give it all to him one time. But he requests 10%. He requests a tenth of everything that we have, right? Am I in the Bible? Right. He requests a tithe, right? A tithe means what? 10. He requests 10%. How many of us are giving him 2 hours and 40 minutes of our time per day? That you're studying the word, you're spending time with him, you're in prayer, or whatever you're doing. How many of us are doing that? Well, when we are not doing that, then we are slack when it comes down to our relationship with God. How many of us are giving him to 10% of our treasury? How many of us are giving him 10% of us? That we're going to be used by God to serve humanity. How many of us are giving him 10% of our talent? Some of us got some talent in administration, got some talent in accounting and all these different areas. Then we can use you in the church too. God can pay you too, and we can pay you too. But if you don't use your time in God's kingdom, then that means that you're selling God short. And your blessing has been released, but you can't possess it. The song they sang a few minutes ago, what God has for you is for you, but you may not be getting it. There's a cornerback who's intercepting your blessing. Some football, the ladies probably know it. There's somebody in between you and your blessing. The blessing has been given, but someone has intercepted. The devil is a devourer. That's what the Bible says. The devil is a devourer, and he will steal your blessing. How does he do that? He gets you to not do what God asked you to do. And once you disobey, then you're messing with your blessing. Listen. I believe the best use of your time is to invest it in something that is going to last. If God gives you 24 hours a day, can't you give him 2 hours and 40 minutes? You ain't that busy. Some of us are too busy for ourselves. You're so busy that you can't give him 2 hours and 40 minutes when he's the one that woke you up. He's the one that allowed the blood to move in your veins. He's the one that allowed you health and spend clothes in your mind. You know you ain't crazy. Yeah, at least I don't think y'all. But the thing is, the question still remains: can God count on you to be who he has called you to be? Well, you can't be who God has called you to be if you're not faithful. Great is thy faithfulness. Now, faithfulness involves management, time management. There are 2 primary time wasters, I believe. One is regret, and the other one is worry. When we regret the past, we waste huge amount of time looking backward to change something we cannot change anyway. Y'all got that? When we worry about the future, we waste time fretting over events that may not happen anyway. So as a result, we waste the time and energy allotted for today. Lord, help me today. For my sake, one day at a time. Many times we put things off for a later day. Even dealing with God, we put things off for a later day. We like to use the when and then method. You know what that is? When I do this, then I do that. When I get myself together, then I'll be able to serve the Lord. When I get myself together, then I'll be a better husband. When I stop drinking, then I'll be a better spouse. When and then. But listen, God says, be faithful now. Hebrews 11:1 said, now faith is. So you need to be faithful now. Don't be putting it off until tomorrow, because guess what? Tomorrow is not even promised to you. God is saying, be faithful now. Be reliable now. Be dependable now. Listen. God, because I hear your voice. You didn't say it, but I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Pastor, you just don't know how busy I am. You just don't know, how much I got on my plate. Well, maybe you need to change plates. I know what you're saying. And God understands what you have on your plate. He sees what you have. He understands how busy you are. So what do? If you got too much on your plate that you cannot make time for God, you need to change your plate or take something off. Listen, what do? You talk to God about it. If you're too busy, you got too much going on, talk to God about it. Ask him what you need to cut out, and then ask him what you may need to add. And guess what? God can help you make the choices. But you got to want to before he can help you. Many of us, we don't want to take time for God. We want to do what we're doing. But it's causing us family issues. It's causing us even health issues. It's causing us some problems because we just won't do it right. So, make the best of your time. It's a part of being faithful. Use your time wisely. Don't get too busy for God. Because remember, he's still in charge. Whether you like it or not, whether you obey him or not, whether you follow him or not, whether you even believe in him or not, he's still in charge. Amen. Get that through your thick head. He's still in charge. He hadn't walked off the throne because you decided not to do what you need to do. He is still in charge. So, make the best of your time. It's a part of being faithful. Jesus said something like this: be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you a crown of life. So that means that all along this journey from earth to heaven, as believers, you gotta be faithful. Can God count on you? to be an instrument, to be a vessel in these latter days? Can God count on you to serve his present age, your calling to fulfill? Can God count on you and your gifts and your abilities to be used in the kingdom or in the church so that the church can move forward like it was designed to move? I don't know how you feel about it, but when I'm done with this unfriendly world, I want to hear the Lord saying, I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what the president said. I don't care what the Pope said. I want to hear the Lord say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. That's what I want to hear when I breathe my last breath. I want the Lord to say, servant. I don't care what they say when I'm stretched out of here. I don't care what they say, because I can't hear them anyway. But I want God to say, servant, well done. Yeah. You've been faithful over a few things. Come on up a little higher. I'm going to make you ruler over. Enter into the joy of the Lord, where there'll be no more sorrow, no more pain, no more problems. Every day will be howdy, howdy, no more goodbyes. But the question is, can God count on you? If this is not for your neighbor, this is not for your family or friend, it's not for your fellow saints, this is for you. Can God count on you to do something for him? Can the church count on you? God's church. Can the community count on you to be the church? Can your family count on you to be that person in the family that's going to lead those who are lost to the marvelous light? Can God count on you to handle your finances correctly? Listen, dear audience. We struggle as the body of Christ so often simply because the members of the body will not carry their core, will not do their part. And many times we make excuses after excuse after excuse. But just like God got sick of them in Noah's day, he got sick of them in Sodom and Gomorrah's time, he's going to get sick of us. And we got to be prepared and in the right place to make sure that when havoc comes, when the hurt comes, that we are secured in his hand. He's going to protect his own. If he's not going to protect his own, we're through deal. We might as well give up now. But I believe that he's going to protect his own. History says that he will. He will protect his own. And if you're doing what he says, you don't have to worry. You're going to eat when it's time to eat. You're going to sleep inside when it's time to sleep. You're going to have the necessities of life, and then you will even have the niceties of life if you just do what God said. Amen. See, this way is not supposed to be hard all the time. Yeah, there's going to be some bumps in the road, but your life shouldn't be hard all the time. Because Jesus said, I came that you might have life, and not only just life, but an abundant life. That means more than enough. And I speak it today. As I give myself to God and do what he says, I shall be prosperous. I shall be a success. It may be devastation all around me, but I shall be. He told Joshua, wherever your feet shall upon, wherever you put your feet, I got some bad feet. Wherever I step shall be blessed. I'm just going to stand on that. Because not only do I want God to count on me, I'm counting on him. I'm counting on him to do what he said that he will do. Come on, put your hands together for me. Come on, you can do better. Praise him for being all blessings. Praise him.